I remember the first time I rode a John Deere. I was 16 years old. I was at my buddy's house. He lived out in the country. And his dad had this John Deere lawnmower. And he had, some crops. He had some corn, looked like he had some wheat. Um, and there was a pathway to the area where they would have their crops and everything. And that pathway was big enough for the John Deere to ride through. And that's what my buddy and I did that day. We got on the John Deere. His dad was like, "You guys go ahead and have fun. Just be careful." And we rode through this pathway in between the crops, in between the corn, in between it all in the John Deere. Of course, the John Deere was not like a four wheeler. It wasn't going fast, but it was going fast enough to where we enjoyed the ride and just rolling in it. And so that was an interesting time because I don't really do cornfields. Have you ever heard of Children of the Corn? I used to watch that movie when I was younger, and I don't do cornfields basically. But this day, it was a day. It wasn't night or anything like that. Um, we enjoyed riding the John Deere through that little pathway and just having fun. It was a nice, mild day to do so. And I had talked to my buddy and I told him, I was like, "Man, you guys have a lot of land." He was like, "It's because we have a farm, as you can see, with the cornfields and everything." And I was like, "That's pretty cool. I'm pretty sure it's a lot of work, isn't it?" And he said, "Oh yes." He said, "We get up early in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning before sun is up, and we'd have a worker crew out with us, and we'd go ahead and we pick the corn, and we do that for about 12 hours, maybe sometimes even 13, 14 hours." And I was like, "Man, that's a lot of work." And I remember detasseling corn also, but that didn't last long because it wasn't for me. It's just not something that I would do. And thinking on today and how the trade, crops, who tends the crops, thinking about all that today and just getting the experiences of what I had in the past from it, it is not work that very many Americans would do. Um, I mean, it's really, really, really tough work. Honestly, it's work that I don't know would pay a lot. I don't know how much a farmer who grazes the farm gets paid, or the workers that work in the farm that gets paid. But I'm pretty sure it's not going to be paying $20 an hour. Um, so, who does those jobs? Who do those jobs? The only people that may do those jobs are those who enjoy doing it. And then there's other people like migrants that do the job also. Because we don't have the machinery to do the job itself sometimes. Sometimes we have to get people out there to do those particular jobs. And, this John Deere, it's something that the equipment, think about all the pieces of the equipment that we have to get to build a John Deere. We cannot manufacture a John Deere with only American parts. Those parts come from other places as well. Those parts come from other places in other countries. And I can remember back in 2019, 2020, somewhere around there, where we were having a farming issue because of specific things that took place with the remain in Mexico, with the migrants coming in, issues with the tariffs that we had put on China, to where farming parts cost a lot more money and was a lot more expensive, and how a lot of farmers lost a lot of income, or even they lost their crops because of the machinery that they needed, that get they couldn't get the parts and pieces because they cost so much money. And that was because of Donald Trump and his administration. Now, you can get mad at me for saying that, but I mean, it's the truth. Uh, Whenever we have done anything when it comes to keeping others out that will do the work that Americans won't do, or even increasing prices on things that we get imported into the US, it causes a strain in the issue amongst the people. And this strain and issue not only happens amongst the people, but it happens amongst, you know, the produce that we get, the produce that we get in our grocery stores and everything else. And you know, I know that the pandemic was one issue, but the tariffs was another issue. And we honestly had a person in office that did not have the wherewithal to make sure that we recouped what we lost, especially with the pandemic. The pandemic could have been handled a different way when if there was more leadership for us to be able to have, you know, a robust economy. Even with inflation, you know, there were things that took place for us to had to build back up. Um, but you know, Donald Trump has been talking about putting tariffs on Mexico, tariffs on Canada now. That's something new, and tariffs on China. And of course, those tariffs will affect our manufacturing companies. They'll affect our farmers. They're going to affect everybody. And it's amazing how people try to defend that. I mean, we've been here once before. It's amazing how we just take it and say, oh, well, we're going to be okay. When we weren't okay the last time it happened. You know, when it comes to farmers, farmers are important for us to be able to export things as well as import things. You know, of course, there are countries that rely on uh, corn that's being shipped from the US or soybean or wheat. And if we are putting tariffs on that country, just imagine how much it's going to cost for us to ship stuff over to another foreign country like China. Um, it's just amazing how we try to strong arm to get our way that affects the American people when it's somebody that's in power that's going to try to wield their power as much as they can to get what they want for themselves and not for the people. But that John Deere, oh man, it was green, had the little deer on it, yellow, the little black and yellow insignias. I'll never forget that. And I won't ever forget how tariffs affected our farmers. And I give respect to the farmers. I give respect to anybody that's out there working 6 days a week for 10, 12 plus hours, you know, not really getting a day off until the crop season is over with. You know, I commend you for doing your job. If you're a farmer, I commend you. But if you're a farmer, I'm definitely going to be praying for you because the work that you do benefits us, even though we don't want to come out there in the fields and work with you. Excuse me. But anyways, this tariff war, this war on what Trump calls it, that you know we're getting drugs shipped in and migrants shipped in and crime is out the wazoo. The crime is happening with the American people. Very rarely do we hear anything about something happening with a migrant coming over and trying to work on a farm from Mexico. You know, very rarely do we hear anything about an Asian person that came over from China that's committed a crime and then, you know, gets incarcerated. And they've only been here for several months. And we rarely ever hear anything about a Canadian committing crime. You know, we get our wood from Canada. A lot of the stuff that we get shipped over here when it comes to uh, our natural resources, our wood comes from Canada, excuse me. We do get a lot of imports from Canada in oil. And with a proposed tariff putting on these countries, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Post in the comment section. Let me know what you think in regards to it. This is the Just Listen podcast, and I appreciate you hanging tight with me on it. There's been a lot of things on my mind with this, and let me know what you think. Just post in the comment section. If you like this message, I know it's short. Go ahead and give me a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll be posting things on a weekly basis. And as I say, God bless and take care of yourself. Walt out.